What do you think? Even when asked, how would I know that make up your own mind, he said. Not willing to listen to me. Thinking about how James and his friends could spend the rest of their days in Saipan without anyone disturbing them, I realized there was no longer a need to hesitate. When we returned home, we quickly started packing. Can we move right now? Yes, it's fine. They quickly arrived and started moving out our packed belongings. Then, we immediately headed to the real estate agency. I wanted to sell my house. The employee at the real estate agency was a very kind person and helped us with the procedure to sell the house on the same day. Now James had completely lost his home. My name is Kate, 43 years old. I live in an apartment in the city with my husband James. I married James 5 years ago. Because we got married late and were not blessed with children, we don't have any kids. But still, because of James' words, life's joy isn't about just children. I'm not bound by the guilt of not being able to have children, and I am able to enjoy each day. James is 45 years old and in the prime of his working life. Lately, he's been working overtime and often comes home late. I used to work at the same company as James, but I quit when we got married. James said it's a bit embarrassing to work at the same company as my wife, so I want you to quit. And so I respected James' opinion, quit my job, and have been a housewife ever since. One day, I got a phone call from my sister-in-law who lives in the next town. It had been a while since we last spoke, and she said, I'm a bit worried about Mom. I can't go and check on her right away, so could you go and see how she's doing? My sister-in-law is a very dependable person, and she has helped me many times since I married James. She has 2 children both in junior high and high school, and they are growing up to be fine children. As for my sister-in-law's children, I could understand why they are growing up to be good kids, since she is a wonderful person who I respect. Because it was a request from my sister-in-law, of course, I hurriedly went to check on my mother-in-law the next day. You can see how wonderful my sister-in-law is if you look at my mother-in-law. I love my mother-in-law. She's a straightforward person, always logical, and has her own opinions. If something is wrong, she can correct it properly, and she cares for those around her well. I'm truly grateful to have met such a wonderful mother-in-law and sister-in-law through my marriage to James. Was shocked when I arrived at my in-laws' home and went inside. There were things scattered everywhere with no place to step and a lot of garbage. It was like a garbage house. My mother-in-law is a clean person. Something was wrong. My mother-in-law was there, not doing anything in particular among the scattered items, looking lost. I called out to her, "Mother-in-law." Then the mother-in-law slowly turned to me and said, who are you again?" as she stood up. Then she turned to James, who had come with me, and said, "Oh, it's you, James. Welcome." We were shocked. Given the drastic change in my mother-in-law, we quickly made a hospital appointment the next day and had her examined. After several days of various tests, the results came out. She had dementia. Moreover, she required nursing care. We called my sister-in-law to my in-laws' house and had a discussion. The fact that she needed nursing care meant that we had to take care of her at my in-laws' house. My sister-in-law said, "Thank you, Kate, I'll take care of the rest," but surprisingly, James opposed it. "No, sis, your house is too far away and it would be hard for the kids to move here." Indeed, because my sister-in-law's house is in the next town, her youngest child would have to transfer schools. "We'll move to our parents' house and take care of her. That's okay, right, Kate?" I was surprised. I didn't think James was such a responsible person. While moved by James' feelings, I made up my mind and said, "Of course. Above all, it's for my beloved mother-in-law." And so the days of taking care of my mother-in-law began from this day. I moved to my in-laws' house, and every day with my mother-in-law began. While taking care of the house, I also looked after my mother-in-law in all aspects, because my mother-in-law would try to go somewhere if I took my eyes off her. I always had to keep her in my sight. Even when I was doing the laundry, cleaning, or cooking, I always kept an eye on my mother-in-law. But at some point, I looked at her expression. I noticed that she seemed quite lonely. I wondered if this kind of life was enjoyable for my mother-in-law. Even though my mother-in-law has dementia, of course, she must have things that she finds enjoyable or happy. Being watched all the time by my side and being still can't be fun. I tried asking, "Mother-in-law, would you like to help me hang up the laundry?" Then my mother-in-law's face brightened and she said, "Of course, I'd be glad to," and started to help me hang the laundry. While it can't be helped that her hands don't move well, above all, she seemed to enjoy hanging the laundry. I was happy to realize that this was indeed the right answer. Since then, whether I'm cooking or cleaning, instead of just watching over my mother-in-law, I decided to do things with her. Perhaps due to this, it seems that my mother-in-law has started to enjoy moving around when it's a sunny day. Since it's a nice day today, shall we have lunch in the park? That sounds nice. It seems like it would be refreshing. We would go to have lunch together on such occasions. I never found this lifestyle to be tough. My sister-in-law always took care of the hospital drop-offs and pickups, and her 2 children often came to see my mother-in-law. However, there was one person who was not cooperative at all. That was James. Initially, it was James who said, "We will take care of my mother." But James didn't help at all. Even when I reported things that happened with my mother-in-law during the day, James would listen with a bothered look, giving dull responses. Even when I asked him for a little help, he would say, "I'm tired from work. Why do I have to get tired at home too?" Recently, James has been coming home late due to overtime, so he might indeed be tired, but I wish he would help a little. Even when he comes home, he doesn't talk to his mother at all. Even when I ask him, "Next time, I think we should do this for mother-in-law. What do you think?" he would say, "Why should I know that? Decide it yourself." And he doesn't listen to the conversation. Given the situation, it feels like James is just coming home from work to sleep. One day, James didn't come home even when it was already 11 p.m. Recently, he often said he was working overtime and would often come home past 11, so I assumed it was the same case that day and went to bed earlier. However, for some reason, I had trouble falling asleep that night. Before I knew it, it was already past midnight. I was wondering why James was late when I heard the sound of a car outside. I found it strange to hear a car at this hour, so I looked out the window and saw James getting out of a car. And then I saw a woman in the driver's seat. The moment they got out, James and the woman were laughing happily, and unbelievably, they kissed. I had unconsciously taken a picture of the moment with my phone, and I was amazed at myself. Our house has a bedroom on the first floor. The distance from the bedroom window to the car wasn't too far, and the picture captured the scene perfectly. The shock was such that my hands wouldn't stop shaking. When I heard the front door open, I hurriedly got back into bed, and that picture would be my trump card later. From that night on, I began to watch his behavior more carefully. Then I started noticing several things that seemed odd. To begin with, claiming he was working overtime seemed unnatural when I thought about it. James might have forgotten, but we used to work at the same company. I know what kind of work James does, and if I think about it, it's clear that his work doesn't require overtime. And if it's just a simple lie like that, I could verify whether it's true or not. So I decided to call a friend who used to be my coworker. "Long time no see, what's up?" "Sorry for the sudden call, but I wanted to ask about James' department at work. Is it really busy these days?" "James? Nope. I got assigned to his department last month, but it's pretty laid back. I sometimes wonder if we should even be getting paid." I knew it. There's no way he'd have overtime in such a slack situation. That means on the days when James said he was working overtime, he was probably spending time with his mistress. My suspicions turned into convictions. One morning, as James was leaving for work, I noticed he had a large bag. I asked him suspiciously, "Why are you carrying such a big bag?" He seemed strangely flustered and stuttered, "I suddenly have to go on a business trip for a week. Please take care of things while I'm gone." "A week? Where are you going?" "Oh, well, I'm not sure yet. I need to check out the office, so I'm leaving now." And with that, he left in a hurry. I sent a message to my friend on text. "Is there anyone on a business trip today?" "I'm not sure, but there shouldn't be. We haven't had any big assignments recently." Just as I thought. That means he plans to leave the house for a week to meet his mistress. Then I heard my mother-in-law calling my name. "Kate." And then she showed me a piece of notepaper. On it, written in James' handwriting, was a name that seemed to be a hotel, a phone number, and the dates and room numbers for today and tomorrow. This paper came out of James' pocket before I washed his clothes the other day. If I had known, I would have given it to you sooner. I'm sorry, Kate, on behalf of James." "So you also knew about James?" "Kate, you can't just let this slide. James must be given a fitting punishment. There's no time to wallow." My mother-in-law saying so was just like she used to be before she developed dementia. Seeing her so assertive after such a long time really got me fired up. Yes, I won't forgive him no matter what. First, taking into account my mother-in-law's opinion, we decided to call my sister-in-law. As soon as she arrived, my sister-in-law apologized, saying, "Kate, I'm so sorry, my stupid brother," and bowed her head. I tried to comfort my sister-in-law, telling her she didn't need to apologize, and the three of us started to plan our next move. First, we looked at the note and confirmed the location of the hotel. James would probably be staying at this hotel for the next 2 days. After that, what to do? The next day, we decided to drive to the hotel in my sister-in-law's car. When we arrived, we found ourselves at the hotel not so far from LAX airport in Los Angeles, and in the hotel parking lot, we saw a familiar car. I looked at the photo on my smartphone. Of course, it was the picture of James kissing that woman that night. It was the same car that was in the photo. After a while, a man we recognized emerged from the hotel. It was unmistakably James. We hid in the shadow of the car to avoid being seen. A woman came out after him and linked arms with James. I took a photo of the scene, unable to believe what I was witnessing. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law were also left speechless. There was a little boy about 1 year old. The child happily took James' hand, and the three of them walked off cheerfully. To an outsider, they would look like a happy, loving family. I, his actual wife, was the one capturing the scene. I felt pathetic, but there were no time to dwell on that. The three of them headed straight to the airport. They left the car at the hotel. Upon arriving at the airport, they laughed and joked around, before disappearing into the airplane boarding area. Their destination was Saipan. Thinking about James and his companions spent the remaining days happily in Saipan. Without any interruptions, I no longer had any doubts. When we got home, we quickly started packing while tidying up the house. We called the moving company and asked, "Can we move right now?" They replied, "Yes, that's fine." They came right away to help us pack. They started to take away the packed items, and we decided to temporarily store them at my sister-in-law's house. After that, we immediately headed to the real estate agent. I wanted to sell my house. The staff at the real estate agency was very kind and helped us to arrange for an immediate sale. Now, James would no longer have a home to return to. Just thinking about it made me feel exhilarated. Afterward, my mother-in-law and I got a room at a nearby business hotel where we would stay for a while. After those plans had settled down, there was something I had to confirm, so I went to the city office. The child that James and his mistress were with, was it James' child? I came to check James' family register to confirm this. If he has acknowledged a child, it should be recorded in the family register. And indeed, on the paper handed to me at the reception, the unknown child's name was recorded as James' son. James had indeed told me that children are not the only joy in life, but did James want a child? Because he couldn't have a child with me, did he cheat and have a child with someone else? Even if I think about it, only he would know, but my mother-in-law said, I couldn't just let this go and cry myself to sleep. I will never forgive him. 7 days later, a call came in from James to my smartphone. "Hey, where are you? I can't unlock the door and get in." Well, that's to be expected since I've already sold the house. What? What are you talking about? Congratulations on your 5-night, 6-day trip to Saipan. It must have been fun. With the three of you, wasn't it? I wonder if it made for good memories. Huh? I could tell James was frozen on the other end of the phone. I continued, Your home is no longer there. We've moved and sold it. You should go home to the woman and the child you have. Wait, it's not what you think. That's not my child. I was finally so angry at James for still making excuses at this point that I unleashed all the anger I'd been holding back. Don't you dare joke with me. You even recognized the child, and now you've had enough of making a fool out of me. Do you think your excuses are going to work now? I don't ever want to see a terrible man like you again. Perhaps because this was the first time I'd ever been so angry, my husband fell silent. I had been speaking on speakerphone, and my mother-in-law spoke up. James, just so you know, no matter how much you try to talk your way out of it, it's impossible. We have all the evidence, and the lawyer is listening to this call. Kate will be claiming damages from you, so be sure to pay them without fussing. And by the way, I'm cutting all ties with you as a parent. Don't even think about relying on me. And I won't leave you a single penny of my inheritance. Wait, what do you mean, Mom? You're not suffering from dementia at all, are you? You idiot! I do indeed have dementia, but when Kate is so hurt and in such a crisis, what good would it do if I didn't pull myself together? Kate has been devoted to me all the time. I can't be her mother-in-law if I can't repay that. Hearing these words, I couldn't help but tear up. Even though my husband treated me so terribly, I truly believe that having met such a kind mother-in-law and a supportive sister-in-law who were always there for me was truly a blessing. I was the happiest bride. After that, James paid me the $57,000 in compensation that I had requested all at once. Although it was quite a large amount, thanks to the great work of my lawyer, we managed to get him to pay the full amount. The photos that served as evidence were definitely useful, but what was most effective was indeed the existence of a hidden child. The fact that I couldn't have a child was one of the reasons, but thinking about it now gives me a complicated feeling. I reported all the intricate details about James' affair to his company, and he became the talk of the town there. However, the rumors weren't good ones, so everyone from his colleagues to his bosses looked at him with cold eyes. Even so, having paid the compensation and depleted his savings, he couldn't afford to quit his job, and it seems that he is now miserably working every day at the office, shrinking under everyone's contemptuous gaze. His mistress turned cold on him when his savings ran out, and it seems he is not even allowed to see his child, but he still has to pay child support, so it seems his life is pretty tough both financially and mentally. The eldest child of my sister-in-law got accepted into a university and started living alone. As a result, my mother-in-law started living with my sister-in-law. I bought a piece of land and built a small single-story house there. That's where I started my new life. I'm now using the qualifications I already had to do a job I can do at home. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law often come over to play at my house, so I never feel lonely. My mother-in-law's dementia seems to have disappeared like it was a lie. The hospital doesn't call it a recovery, but my mother-in-law always says it's thanks to me. From now on, I want to find more joy in my life and live happily every day.